in a large department like this, and in Whitehall that can be distant, and politics that can be distant, it reminds us to stay informed by the real people in the real lives, in whose name we see progress now.
And of course, some might argue that storytelling is rhetoric. I mentioned this before, and storytelling is ephemeral. So it's here today, gone tomorrow. So I want you to just comment on the need for the museum or museums across the board, because of course what museums do is embody those stories and gives legacy to those stories, so that they're not just frivolous and or as important that they are, but you've got some kind of continuity for the next generations. So how important really are museums?
I hope that we all recognise how important museums are, because in a sense the museums help bridge the present between the past and the future. And we have the responsibility today of making sure there are the foundations of what future generations will see and know tomorrow. And it isn't, in a sense, in a sort of in a frivolous sort of way. The depth of the stories is actually today's lived research. And it is the research that you won't have access to unless you capture that today. And we don't generally do sort of have ways in which we document lives and changes in society, maybe in ways that we may have done before. Times change so much more quickly as well. But this is important because there's an intergenerational aspect of this, and you've highlighted this in some of your leaning in your thought piece on whether we talk about the Windrush generation or Windrush generations. And it is important because legacy, identity, place and purpose in Britain is also being able to be proud of your heritage and your history and to have that recognised and validated and valued. And I think we need to see that in the context of the contributions to a strong, diverse and global Britain. And that's why I think that the Windrush National Museum, the purpose for which you've begun the museum, the clarity with which you're directing its work, and the contributions from the Development Council, the Next Gen and others, that is a whole of the UK story, is an important part of the legacy for the future.
So there are over 2,500 museums in Britain. Your colleagues in culture will probably remind you of that. The National Windrush Museum, of course, is one of just a few that's representing this cohort. I'm sure that as we go ahead to outline some of the possibilities for developing a standalone museum, that we'll be able to explore the necessity of having that diversity within the museum sector. But let's just move on to something else that you mentioned around the notion of the Windrush scandal. Now, what we've noticed quite recently in some of your speeches is that you're now referring to this as the Home Office Windrush scandal. And I'm totally intrigued with this shift and the nuance that you picked up. Now, some colleagues have picked it up, but you seem to have picked it up very, very quickly. So do you want to just elucidate on that?
I think it's probably something you've also seen and advocated, and the fundamental point is it was a Home Office Windrush scandal. It wasn't a scandal of the Windrush generation or Windrush communities, and we understand and acknowledge and accept that. And the work we're doing now as part of what we've described as the reset has got to start with that acceptance of where the Home Office went wrong and to own it. And it is important because unless we start there, we don't have a place in which we're all starting to move forward, I hope, together.
So unpacking this whole idea that the Windrush Candle was possibly of another time, and that we are resetting for different ways of describing the New Britain and how Windrush, the diversity of experiences within Windrush community is something that we really want to explore. And let's do that by talking about the idea of trust. This seemed again to be central to your speech. Would you like to just comment on that and the necessity of building trust? The reason being is that there are many in this room would say, oh, this is all very nice and it's very, it sounds great, but the reality of many people out there in the communities isn't like this. So again, just give us a little bit on the importance of building trust.
I will ask that question in the honour of the many people in the Windrush communities who not have stepped forward or stepped into the Home Office today, and who will not step into the Home Office or come close to the Home Office or seek to put in a claim for compensation which they would deserve to have because the pain is too deep, the distance is too great, and the relationship is too broken. And for those who feel that way, I do feel a great sense of responsibility that we must do all we can to reach out and reach in to where the reset of the Home Office and that message has not yet reached. It's one of the reasons why we have the new Advocacy and Support Fund that will be coming on stream, the £1.5 million that is going into supporting capacity within grassroots organisations, because it can't be and it won't be the Home Office that succeeds in encouraging people to come forward, whether it is to regularise their status or to apply for compensation, because we are not the trusted voice. And it is important that we are able to support that capacity and support, because I would like the end of this process, and I hope that we will get to the end and we will see the scandal as something of the past, and we will be in, and it's the Windrush National Organisation that is also member raising this at the conference, that we will be in a new space where it is one of celebration, of recognition, of value shift, of culture shift. But while there are still people in our country who should be coming forward, who do not have the trust or the confidence to do so, it is our responsibility to keep reaching out and to keep building that bridge. And to do so, and that's why I'm so incredibly grateful to all here today, through the organisations that we see working incredibly hard across the country, because all of you are the route through which we reach those who haven't yet been able to come forward, and who step by step will be able to do so because of the trust that you have and because of the relationships that you are building with the Home Office.
And as we bring this to a close, of course, many would say, Minister, that we're tired. And a colleague of mine said, we're very, very tired. Many of our elders have been talking about the need to build trust, the need to have tangible representation, for us to have equality of opportunity, for us to have equity in all of the things that we do. And what that results in is that you have a lot of people who are very tired on all sides and frustrated. And we'd like to thank you and your department and our colleagues for the good work that they're doing in order to not only recognise these issues, but also to recognise that individuals have been regurgitating many of these concerns for many, many years. So one final word from you. If there was one thing that you perhaps missed out of our discussion, you'd just like to leave with the audience here today?
Well, firstly, I want to say I understand and I appreciate how tired everyone will feel. You was the first to tell me how tired everyone was, and I remember that. And it is the reason why I hope that we're moving forward in a different way. And it is important that we bring energy, and that we bring hope, and that we also bring confidence that we are together creating a different future. And that's why I'm incredibly pleased to have been able to co-host today with the National Windrush Museum. But also to say that we didn't just want this to be about downstairs here. So I hope that in the margins of today, you will also have the opportunity to see that we have the exhibition upstairs. And that is about taking the Windrush story and this conference into the heart of the Home Office. And very much intend that the learnings from today will also be moving into the heart of government, because that's where they should be.
So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Minister Seema.